Incredible transformation, poor girl discovers millionaire locked away, his touching reaction reveals a heartwarming friendship. Emma's heart raced as she pushed open the creaking door of the old mansion, the weight of her world on her shoulders. She was 17, juggling school, work at the diner, and caring for her 2 younger siblings. Every morning, she served breakfast with a smile, pouring coffee to the familiar faces that made up the town, but she longed for something bigger, something more fulfilling. Her family's finances were dwindling, and with college on her mind, each day felt heavier than the last. As she ventured into the dusty hall of the mansion, sunlight peeked through the cracked windows, illuminating the debris of a forgotten life. Faint echoes of laughter and warmth wrapped around her, enticing and bittersweet. That was when she met Jack. He stood in the shadows, wide-eyed, clutching an old photo, his silver hair hinting at past glory. His face was lined with grief, but Emma saw something sparkle behind the pain, a flicker of hope, perhaps. "Who's there?" he asked, his voice trembling. "It's just me, Emma." I was curious. Her own voice shook, but she stepped closer. "This place, it's beautiful, in a way." Jack's laughter was soft, tinged with despair. "It used to be." The connection was instant, as if they had shared the same loss, the same burden of silence. As they shared stories, Emma felt the weight on her heart lift just a little. She opened up about her life, the diner, her dreams, the struggles of being the oldest sister. Jack listened, each word pulling him back towards the world he had shunned for years. For the first time in a long time, despair was replaced with compassion. It was like breathing fresh air after being suffocated. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just when hope sparkled again, rumors began swirling around town. Claire, the self-proclaimed queen of social events, set off a storm of gossip about Jack's reclusive nature, spinning tales that fed into the community's prejudices. The cozy diner, once filled with laughter and joy, turned hostile as whispers echoed off the bright walls. Emma's heart sank with every bite of judgment she saw played out in front of her. Her family felt the pressure. They relied on the townspeople for support, but they'd drawn a line in the sand. Loyal to a fault, Emma wrestled with her feelings for Jack and the loyalty she owed to her family and the diner they had built. But amidst the chaos, Emma found Jack's long-abandoned philanthropic projects in the dusty attic. They were plans crafted to uplift the downtrodden families of their town. Inspired, she felt an undeniable calling to unite the community behind a cause that truly mattered. As the townspeople gathered for a pivotal event that could change everything, Claire's dark intentions loomed. Emma stood at the convergence of friendship and loyalty, torn by the gravity of her choices. Would they find the strength to rise above it all, igniting hope and understanding among their fractured hearts? Would their bond be the light to dispel the shadows surrounding Jack and the community? As the sun dipped low on the horizon, the vibrant colors of dusk painted the sky, but Emma's mind was clouded with uncertainty. The upcoming event felt like a weight on her chest, pressing hard, suffocating. She had worked tirelessly all week, gathering supplies, rallying volunteers, and spreading the word to friends and neighbors about the charity event Jack's plans envisioned. What had started as an innocent effort to help others had twisted into a battleground of loyalty, ambition, and fear. The evening air was tense with anticipation as townspeople filtered into the old mansion, now decorated with fairy lights strung across the entrance and colorful banners hung from the walls. Emma's heart raced when she spotted Jack leaning against the wall, a hint of apprehension clouding his once bright smile. It triggered her protective instincts. This wasn't just about helping others for her, it was a lifeline for Jack, to his chance at reconnecting with the world and vanquishing the shadows that had dominated his life for so long. Are you ready for this? she asked, her voice barely above a whisper, yet it held a world of meaning. Jack nodded, his eyes scanning the room. I've never been good at being seen. I'm afraid they'll just see the man in the rumors. Emma placed a hand on his arm. They'll see you, Jack. Not what others say. Her conviction ignited a spark in him, but doubt lingered, evident in the way he shifted nervously. As the event began, Emma took a deep breath, stepping into the spotlight. Thank you all for being here tonight. She called out, the warmth in her voice cutting through the chilly air. Murmurs floated through the crowd, and some familiar faces looked on with skepticism. I know you've heard stories, she continued, her gaze steady. But tonight, we're not here to dwell on the past. We're here to build a brighter future. The crowd shifted restlessly, and Emma pressed on. Jack has been working tirelessly to create opportunities for those who need it most. Let us focus on what matters, healing our community. Claire stood at the back, arms crossed, determination etched into her features. As Emma spoke, Claire clenched her jaw, simmering under the weight of her own insecurities. She knew this event could turn the tides, but she was resolute that it wouldn't be on Jack's terms. The energy began to fluctuate. Some faces softened at Emma's words, but others hardened. Emma could see the divide forming, echoing a rift that had grown deep over the years. Whispers of judgment mixed with pockets of hope, creating a cocktail of tension that hung thick in the air. As Emma introduced Jack, he stepped forward, his silver hair catching the faint glow of the lights. I know I've made mistakes, he began, his voice tentative, yet powerful. But the work we can do together, the lives we can change, that is what needs to shine through. And then, just as hope started to bloom, Claire interjected, are we absolutely sure anyone should trust a man with a past like his? The words were daggers, and Emma could feel the collective gasp of the crowd. Emma's heart sank, dread creeping into her stomach. This was at the moment that could shatter everything. She locked eyes with Jack, silently urging him to press on, but his earlier enthusiasm faltered. Faced with the question of a community's trust and loyalty, Emma's mind raced. She had to defend Jack, she had to make them understand, but how? Will they choose fear over hope? She wondered, as the crowd's murmurs grew louder, swirling into an ominous tide. The moment hung in the balance, suspense thick in the air. Would Jack find the strength to confront the shadows of his past? Could Emma ignite a flicker of courage in the community that would reclaim their shared futures? With the stakes raised, the night stretched on into uncertainty, leaving Emma holding her breath in anticipation of what would come next. Emma stood frozen, her thoughts racing. The air was electric, charged with tension. All eyes turned to Jack, waiting for his response. She could almost hear the heartbeat of the crowd, the shaky breaths, the whispers, the doubt. Claire, please, Jack finally said, his voice gaining strength. I never asked for forgiveness. I know my past is hard to overlook, but I believe we can all make things better together. A flicker of surprise flashed across Claire's face, as if she hadn't expected Jack to fight back. Emma felt a sense of hope from Jack's reply, but it was fragile, like thin glass. Whatever trust they had could shatter at the slightest touch. The murmurs grew, and someone from the crowd chimed in. But what has he done for us lately? A man stepped forward, his brow furrowed, arms crossed defiantly. Can we really trust someone like him? Emma's heart raced. The doubt was spreading like wildfire. Yes. She blurted out, her voice more commanding than she felt. Jack has spent countless hours working on initiatives for our community. Maybe we all need to face our past, our fears together. But what if he fails us? Someone else shouted out, punctuating the chaos with a looming question. What if he hurts us again? Jack met Emma's eyes, and for a moment, she saw determination mix with fear. I can't erase my past, he said, his voice lowering yet still resonant. But I promise every penny raised tonight will go toward helping those in need. Emma stepped forward again, driven by an urge to connect with the hearts in the room. This isn't just about Jack's past. Look around. It's about every one of us. Look at the struggles we've faced together. We've poured into this community. Remember what we've built as neighbors. The friendships, the laughter. A ripple of recognition passed through the crowd. Faces softened, glimpses of memories flickering like the lights above. And maybe, Emma continued, her voice a mix of urgency and tenderness, we can start a new chapter. One full of hope, where we support each other. Everyone deserves a second chance. We should help Jack, just as he wants to help all of us. Claire stood silent, her expression wavering, uncertain. The crowd buzzed with shifting feelings. Emma could see the walls of resistance beginning to crack. It felt like a wave was building, one that could either crash or carry them away towards something better. Jack, can you promise to guide us? Claire finally spoke, her tough exterior beginning to fade. Can you prove to us that we won't regret this? Jack straightened, his eyes fierce. I'm here to commit to this community. I may not be perfect, but I will do everything I can to show you all that trust can be rebuilt. A round of whispers spread, but the hesitance was shifting into something different. Emma's heart swelled as she caught glimpses of hope. The embers of change were igniting. But before Emma could savor the moment, a sudden clatter broke through the noise of fallen chair, a startled gasp. The crowd turned to see a young girl, no older than 10, standing in the doorway, clutching a handmade sign that read "Help Us." The room fell silent. Emma's heart raced again, this time out of a deep sense of urgency. Who was this girl, and what did she need? Is that Emma started, the question hanging heavy in the air. Could this unexpected moment shift the course of the night? Jack looked toward the girl, determination flickering within him. Emma clasped her hands, praying for clarity amid the chaos. What would happen next could change everything, and she was holding her breath for what was about to unfold. The young girl stepped forward, her wide eyes scanning the crowd. Emma felt the collective breath of the room hitch in disbelief. Who are you, sweetheart? Jack's voice was softer now, tinged with concern. I'm Mia, the girl stammered, her grip tightening on the sign. I came here for help. There are people in my neighborhood. They need food. My mom and I, we can't get enough. I thought maybe you could help us. A murmur rippled through the crowd, shifting from skepticism to compassion. Emma stepped closer, wanting to comfort the girl. Mia, how can we help? I saw the flyers for this event. My mom said maybe there would be someone who could listen, she replied, her small voice quivering. Emma's heart sank. So many families were struggling, and here was this little girl, stepping into a room full of adults seeking change. The silence hung in the air like a storm cloud, thick and heavy, until Jack broke it. Mia, we can do something. I promise we will help. The determination in his voice resonated deeply, rooting itself in the hearts of those present. What do we need? One of the older women in the crowd asked, her eyes glistening. She stepped forward, her own experience of struggle lighting a fire inside her. We have to move now. The energy in the room shifted, morphing from tension into hope. Jack maintained his eye contact with Mia, drawing strength from her vulnerability. We can start a food drive right now. We can collect money, supplies, anything that can help. Let us organize it together. More voices chimed in. I can help with the logistics. Someone shouted. I can reach out to the local businesses. Another added, the room evolving into a chorus of support. Emma looked at Jack, his resolve climbing to new heights with the momentum building around him. This was not just about his past anymore, it was about the community yearning to lift each other up. A wave of inspiration washed over her. She felt empowered, ready to take charge. Mia. Emma said, kneeling to the girl's level. Thank you for being brave enough to share your story. You are our voice tonight. Together, we can make a difference for you and all the families who need it." The crowd began to stir with renewed energy, people standing taller, shaking off their previous doubts. Emma felt a warmth spread through her, as if they were witnessing a rebirth of their community right here in this room, led by a child who just wanted help. But amidst the fervor, another thought struck Emma like a bolt of lightning. What if Jack was now truly ready to change, not just for the community but for himself? Could he confront his past while helping others? She turned to him, the uncertainty shimmering in her heart. Jack caught her gaze. A flash of realization flickered in his eyes. "I want to let you down," he whispered, barely audible over the growing noise of enthusiasm in the room. In that moment, the surroundings faded away, and for Emma, it felt personal. She wanted to believe in the possibility of a new future for all of them. But just as the energy surged, a loud bang erupted outside. A police siren wailed in the distance, slicing through the ambience. Emma's stomach knotted. What was happening now? She and Jack exchanged a bewildered look. How would this impact the plans that were finally starting to take shape? The unease crept back in, intertwining with the hope, the balance hanging by a thread. With hearts pounding, they knew that the night was far from over, and more challenges were just ahead. But how would the arrival of law enforcement disrupt everything they'd worked so hard for tonight? Emma's heart raced as the siren's cry echoed through the crowd, pulling them back into reality. The chatter ceased abruptly, replaced by anxious whispers and darting glances. It felt as if the world outside had burst into their moment of hope with all its harshness. "Stay calm." Jack's voice cut through the tension. "Let us figure out what is going on." He stepped forward, instinctively protecting Mia, who stood frozen, eyes wide. Emma felt the need to shield the girl too, a motherly instinct bubbling fiercely to the surface. "Maybe it's just a routine check," someone suggested, but the doubt lingered in the air like smoke. Emma looked back at Jack, his set jaw and clenched fists revealing his frustration. She could feel the energy drain from the room, replaced by an underlying current of fear. "Let us keep the focus on Mia," Emma urged, kneeling beside the girl again. "You're doing amazing, Mia. Just hang in there. We're all here for you." The girl's small body trembled slightly, but her chin lifted a fraction higher, a hint of determination shining through. "I can't go back," Mia said, her voice barely above a whisper but filled with an unsettling strength. "I can't let my mom down." The boldness of the young girl struck a chord within Emma, reminding her of her own mother's sacrifices. Jack turned back to the crowd, rallying his voice again. "We'll keep moving forward. This moment is about community, a chance to stand together. The police can't deter us from helping those in need." The crowd responded, a mix of nods and murmurs of agreement. As the voices began to rise again, Emma felt a warmth flow through her veins, igniting a fire of determination that started to spread across the group. Maybe they could still rise above the anxiety that threatened to swallow them whole. "All right, everyone," Emma called out, trying to harness the energy. "Let us come up with a list of things we can collect for Mia and her neighborhood. What supplies do we have at home? Who can volunteer?" She saw hands shoot up around her, ideas spilling out quickly, fueled by urgency. But just then, the door swung open with a bang, and everyone jumped. A uniformed officer stepped in, scanning the room. A bead of sweat trickled down Emma's neck. She caught a glimpse of concern from Jack. What would this mean? How would the officer view the gathering? "Evening, folks," the officer announced, his eyes moving from person to person, before landing on Jack. "We received reports of some disturbances in the area. I just wanted to check in and see how things are here." Jack glanced at Emma, then at Mia, who stood clutching her sign. What if this confrontation shattered their plans? "Everything's good," Jack said boldly, an unexpected calm lacing his words. "We're organizing a food drive to help those in need. We're focused on community support." The officer's brow furrowed for a moment, skepticism etched on his face. Emma felt the room mirror the tension, a collective inhale waiting for a response. Would this man understand the heart of their mission? Food drive, huh? The officer's expression softened slightly. Well, nothing illegal happening here, right? Just taking care of your neighbors. Yes. Emma chimed in, her voice ringing more fiercely than she intended. We're just trying to help some families who are struggling, like Mia's. The officer paused, studying the girl. Mia's gaze met his, unyielding and sincere. An unexpected stillness filled the room. I can help spread the word, the officer finally said, his demeanor shifting. If you have any flyers or information, I can get them out across the neighborhood. A ripple of surprise and joy spread through the crowd. Emma felt hope blossom again, beautiful and bright as the sun breaking through clouds. With renewed momentum, Emma, Jack, and Mia began to discuss logistics, plans to rope in local shops, and where to set up collection points. The atmosphere thickened with excitement, it felt as if they were on the brink of something truly significant. But as the officer took a step back, the shadows outside began to deepen. Emma couldn't shake the question hanging in her mind: if the community lifted itself up tonight, what would it need to survive the storm that still loomed? What did it take to truly change a neighborhood forever? And at what cost? Amid the shadows, an unexpected voice echoed in her mind, Mia's. How far would they all go to make a difference? In that moment, Emma realized this gathering was just the beginning. But of what, she couldn't yet tell. Emma's thoughts swirled in a whirlwind of hope and trepidation. The officer's supportive words felt like a temporary shield against the darkness outside, but would it be enough? As the crowd grew more animated, Emma noticed Mia clutching her sign with hesitant resolve, still at her side. The chatter, filled with suggestions and plans for the food drive, mixed with laughter and excitement, ignited flames of courage in her chest. This was a community rallying together, first for Mia, then for all those in need. But shadows still loomed, uncertainty hung like a thick fog. Jack stepped forward, brimming with energy. Let us put our heads together. Who has connections to local businesses? We can start a list right now. Emma watched as hands flew up, faces lighting with newfound purpose. The officer nodded, occasionally scribbling notes, clearly intrigued by the growing determination in the room. It was cathartic, watching everyone decide they were capable of making a change, no longer just passive bystanders. Mia. Emma called, focusing on the girl. Would you like to help us come up with a list of supplies we should gather? Mia blinked, her eyes shining with a mix of surprise and resolve. Yeah. Food, blankets and maybe some toys for the kids. Yes. That's perfect. Emma encouraged, the warmth spreading through her heart. Mia's confidence blossomed, her voice gaining strength as she added more items to the growing list. But then, out of nowhere, the door swung open again. This time, it was a group of men, faces grim and determined. Emma's heartbeat quickened. They wore worn-out jackets and carried empty bags. A ripple of dread swept through the room. Is this the place for the food drive? One of the men asked, his voice hoarse but hopeful. Jack stepped forward without hesitation. Yes. We're just getting started. How can we help you? Emma's throat tightened as she watched the men exchange glances. They looked worn and weary, and it hit her deeply. These were the people they were fighting for, the faces behind Mia's concerns. The eldest of the men took a deep breath. We heard you're helping families. We're from the housing project across town. Can we bring our families by? They need all kinds of help. The room froze, the air thick with understanding. Emma locked eyes with Jack, both knew that the road ahead was far from easy, but it could lead to something monumental. Absolutely, Emma said, her voice sure. We want to help everyone. Everyone deserves to feel safe and supported. The more, the merrier. Encouragement rippled through the room as the men nodded appreciatively. They took seats, looking tired but calmer, blending into the enthusiasm around them. "All right," Jack shouted with renewed vigor. "We need to strategize. Can we count on you to spread the word? Reach out to other families in need?" With a contagious spirit, the men agreed, and soon the room was alive with energy again. Plans flourished, excitement grew, and laughter began to bubble up like joy breaking the surface. Emma's heart swelled as she witnessed the transformation before her. Mia was leading discussions, her initial apprehension now fully replaced with empowerment. The room had become a battleground of hope, each idea contributing to a wave of momentum, as if they were all rewriting a shared story woven with compassion and determination. Yet, amid this intersection of lives and aspirations, Emma still felt the shadows lurking beyond the windows. The sirens had faded but the challenges remained, waiting just on the other side of their burgeoning unity. "Hey everyone," Emma gathered everyone's attention again, her pulse racing. "Remember, this isn't just about one night. What we're building is a connection. But we must be prepared for more, for the backlash that could come." The hushed room confirmed their understanding. Hope was fragile, and with it came the weight of responsibility. As they continued to plan and share stories, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that their efforts would either galvanize a lasting change or draw potentially dangerous attention back to them. What if outsiders would come knocking with disapproval? With Mia beside her, confidence rising from the combined strength of the group, Emma quietly reiterated in her heart, this was only the beginning. But did they have what it took to endure the challenges that lay ahead? Would they rally together when the storm returned? Emma vowed to find out, because nothing could crush their spirit now, could it? Emma felt a shift in the atmosphere, an electric buzz that seemed to pulse through the air as ideas flowed freely. The initial tension began to dissipate, replaced by a collective sense of purpose. Jack's enthusiasm was infectious, and Emma could see the faces around her transforming. Each person was ready to fight for change. "All right, how do we start?" one of the men asked, his brow furrowed, a mix of hope and apprehension in his gaze. Jack clapped his hands together. "Let us break into groups. One for supplies, one for logistics, and one for outreach. We need to target local businesses and see who's willing to donate." Emma nodded, feeling urgency rise. "Mia, can you help me in the supplies group? We'll think of where we can gather food and other essentials." Mia beamed, more enthusiastic than Emma had ever seen her. "Yes. I have some ideas about who we can ask." They got to work quickly, voices overlapping with excitement, organized chaos blooming in the room. Emma felt herself lift with every idea shared, every face lighting up with participation. This was more than just a food drive, it was an awakening. They weren't just helping strangers, they were building connections that would last long after this night. "Okay, here's a plan," Jack called, rallying everyone's attention back. He pointed to a whiteboard filled with names and ideas. "We'll approach local markets first and see if they'll contribute. Then, we'll go door to door to ask for volunteers and donations." Emma raised an eyebrow. "Door to door? How effective will that be?" Jack shrugged and smiled. "You'd be surprised. People love to help when they feel included, when they see their neighbors stepping up." His words struck a chord with Emma. This wasn't just about the drive itself but about rebuilding a sense of community they all yearned for. Maybe this was what they needed to overcome the shadows looming outside. Mia leaned in closer to Emma. "What if we made flyers? We could tell people what we need and how they can help." "Great idea." Emma grinned, her heart swelling with pride. "Let us do it." As plans solidified, the mood shifted to something palpable and vibrant. They weren't just aiming for a one-time event, they were laying groundwork for change. Emma felt a surge of hope, but also a nagging fear. What if their efforts weren't enough? What if they faced pushback from those who didn't understand their purpose? Amid the laughter and chatter, Emma stole glances toward the window. The darkening sky outside reminded her of the uncertainties of their mission. Her thoughts carried her back to the very faces who needed their help. Would their unity withstand challenges along the way? By the time the meeting began to wind down, a sense of accomplishment filled the air. They mapped out the next steps, and the energy was still infectious. Emma glanced at Mia, who grinned broadly, her earlier uncertainty vanished. The girl was now a beacon of hope. Jack clapped his hands again. Remember, we kick things off tomorrow. Let us all meet back here at noon. As the crowd began to disperse, Emma felt lighter, but questions lingered in her mind. Would they truly be able to sustain this energy? Were they prepared for every challenge they might face? Mia slid her hand into Emma's. I'm really glad we're doing this, she said softly. Emma squeezed her hand. Me too, Mia. But our journey has just begun. Suddenly, a sharp voice broke through the chatter of departing conversations. Excuse me. Can you all keep it down? Some of us are trying to rest around here. Emma looked up to see a woman standing on the threshold, arms crossed, frustration etched across her face. The reactions of those around her varied from confusion to defensiveness. But Emma felt a spark ignite within her. Wasn't this woman part of the community as well? Could she be convinced to join them? I understand it's loud, Emma spoke loudly enough to be heard. But we're trying to help our neighborhood, and we love your support. The woman's eyebrow arched in skepticism. Support? What do you intend to do? Emma took a step forward. Fueled by a desire to connect, to invite, to include. This was a challenge she hadn't expected, a moment that could either ignite discord or bring another ally into their fold. How about you join us, and we can talk about it? Emma offered, her voice steady but warm. But would the woman see the glimmer of what they were trying to accomplish? Or would she shut them down, further darkening the shadows? Emma held her breath, waiting for the answer. The woman's cold gaze lingered on Emma, challenging her to offer something more than just words. Emma could see the flicker of curiosity behind the frustration, and she took a deep breath, determined not to let fear of rejection deter her. We're organizing a food drive, Emma explained. We want to gather supplies to help those who are struggling in the community. Everyone here wants to make a difference. It's not just food, it's about bringing our community together. The woman uncrossed her arms slightly, the tension in her shoulders easing just a bit. And you think that'll solve everything? Just handing out food? Emma felt the weight of the woman's skepticism but pressed on. Maybe not everything. But it's a start. It shows we care. It shows we're willing to take the first step. A flicker of something, was it empathy? Crossed the woman's face. It's easy to sit and plan, harder to take action. Exactly. Emma smiled, warmth flooding her voice. And that's why we need all voices, including yours. What do you think would help the most? The woman hesitated, uncertainty clouding her eyes. Other members of the group began to gather around, sensing the tension, but they were also drawn in by Emma's plea for connection. Eric, a tall man with a reassuring grin, chimed in, any input can make this stronger. Even tough ideas. They waited, hanging on the woman's next words. The atmosphere rippled with anticipation. Fine, she finally said, with a reluctant nod. I'll join you, but I'm not promising anything. Relief washed over Emma, and a wave of applause erupted from nearby onlookers. Thank you. That's all we want, your insight and help. As the woman stepped into the space vacated by her crossed arms, Mia whispered to Emma, you really turned that around. Emma felt a charge of hope. Maybe it wasn't just about food, maybe they were rekindling a spirit of cooperation. One person at a time, they could change the narrative. As the group began to disperse, buzz filled the air about their impending first steps. Emma and Mia took a moment to gather their energy and ideas. They shared thoughts about the flyers and how to design them colorful, inviting, and informative. But Emma's heart raced for another reason. Do you think we can really pull this off? she asked Mia quietly, a hint of doubt creeping back. Mia shrugged, a confident glint in her eye. We've already started, haven't we? We just have to keep going. Together. Emma smiled, the warmth of commitment returning. But as they walked towards the door, the woman they had spoken to lingered behind. She sifted through the papers on the table, her expression contemplative. Hey, Emma called out gently, what's your name? The woman turned slightly, the earlier skepticism still present but now softened by intrigue. Call me Claire. Nice to meet you, Claire, Emma replied, closing the distance between them. I'm Emma. Would you like to brainstorm ideas together before tomorrow? Your input could mean a lot. For a moment, Claire seemed caught off guard, as if no one had ever invited her into a discussion like this before. The shadows around her were lifting, the day's stress glinting in her initial hesitant smile. Yeah, I suppose I can help with that, she said, her voice softer, a trace of a smile emerging. With that small step, Emma felt the night shift again. Not only did she catch glimpses of potential allies, but she could also see openings, pathways leading to understanding. But just as excitement filled the air, the sound of footsteps echoed through the hall. A familiar figure approached, and Emma felt her stomach drop. What are you all doing here? It was Kyle, the neighborhood bully, and he looked furious. What now? She thought. Would this encounter push them back into the shadows? Emma exchanged anxious glances with Mia and Claire. They were about to face the very challenge they feared most. Would they stand united against the darkness, or would fear scatter them again? Kyle's eyes darted around the small group, and Emma could feel the weight of his gaze land on her. His scornful look sent a shiver down her spine. She took a half step back but steadied herself. The soft murmurs of her friends faded into the background as every nerve seemed to hum with anticipation. What's this, a little club? Kyle sneered, his voice dripping with disdain. You really think a food drive is going to change anything around here? The defensiveness in the pit of Emma's stomach was instant, yet she reminded herself why they were here. We're trying to help, Kyle, she said, her voice more resolute than she felt. People need support, not more negativity. Claire shifted slightly closer to Emma, her body language signaling solidarity. It's not about changing everything at once, she added, finding her footing in the conversation. It's about doing something. Anything is better than doing nothing. Kyle crossed his arms, his lip curling in mock amusement. You actually believe you can make a difference? He asked, incredulity etched across his face. You're wasting your time. People like you don't change anything. For a heartbeat, Emma felt fear clawing at her insides. But she also sensed the strength radiating from Claire and Mia. They weren't alone, and together they could weather this storm. Taking a deep breath, she spoke again, grounding herself in conviction and hope. This community deserves more than that. We have to believe that change is possible, even if it's small. Or you could save yourself the trouble and just give up, he shot back, eyes narrowing. What's your problem anyway? Mia piped up, crossing her arms in her own show of defiance. Why does this even matter to you? Kyle scoffed, rolling his eyes. I just don't get why you all think you're some kind of heroes. It's pathetic. The tension in the air thickened, and Emma glanced at Claire, who seemed to be searching for the right words. It wasn't easy, they had all faced Kyle's mockery before. But something had shifted. The warmth she had felt just moments ago began to swell into a gentle refusal to back down. Maybe it is pathetic to you, Claire finally said, her voice steady and calm. But it's not for us. It's about being part of something bigger. A community. We're trying to inspire people, and maybe even you. Kyle's brow furrowed. Inspire people? What a joke. Why don't you just admit you're wasting your time before you get hurt? Emma stepped forward, frustration bubbling within. Just because you don't understand doesn't mean it's worthless. We're not afraid of hard work or failure. What are you afraid of? Suddenly, Kyle seemed caught off guard by the question, and for a fleeting moment, confusion crossed his face. Yet, he quickly masked it with a scowl. You think this will change anything? You're delusional, he said, bitterness dripping from each word. But the sharpness in his tone seemed to falter just a bit. Being delusional is better than being cynical, Claire stated firmly. At least we're trying. Silence settled around them, a palpable shift in the air. As if time suspended itself for a brief moment, a flicker of uncertainty flickered in Kyle's eyes, something he wasn't prepared to confront. Emma's heart raced. What if this was the moment they somehow reached him? What if, despite his tough exterior, a spark of change existed inside him? She wrestled with the thought, hoping that their passion might infiltrate the darkness he carried. But before she could seize that thought, Kyle turned, the hint of vulnerability gone as quickly as it had appeared. Whatever. You can play your little games. Just don't expect me to be around to watch you fail. With that, he stormed off, leaving behind an awkward silence filled with unspoken questions. Emma felt a mixture of relief and concern wash over her, unsure if they had just faced their biggest challenge or if they were merely beginning. Did he almost consider what we're doing? Mia whispered, disbelief evident in her voice. I don't know, Emma murmured, heart pounding. But we can't let his words drag us down. We have to keep moving forward, for ourselves and for the community. Claire nodded, but Emma could see the lingering shadows of doubt still threaded through her expression. Together, they all forged ahead, ready to face the next challenge. As they walked away from the hall, Emma felt the weight of possibilities in the air. Could they truly change minds, even hearts, like Kyle's? The thought was enough to fill her uncertainty with a new ember of enthusiasm. But then, from the shadows of the hall, another figure loomed one far closer, looking at them with interest. Emma's stomach turned. This one looked even more dangerous. Who is that? She whispered to Mia, eyes wide. Emma's heart raced as she stepped closer, trying to make out the figure lurking in the dim light of the hallway. It was a tall man, his frame shadowy but unmistakably imposing. She could see the outlines of his features, sharp angles defined by the flickering light sweeping through the cracks. Maybe it's just another neighbor, Mia whispered, but Emma could feel the tension in the air, thick like fog. Kyle's gonna bring back friends to make fun of us, Claire suggested, trying to sound cool, but her voice trembled. Or worse then, the figure stepped into the light, and Emma realized this was Tommy, Kyle's older brother. He had a reputation for being even more ruthless than Kyle, a kid who rarely backed down from a fight and didn't think twice about using his fists. What is going on here? Tommy asked, his tone casual but his eyes narrowed with a mix of curiosity and menace. This little gathering of losers is supposed to help someone. Like that's going to work. Emma felt a rush of emotions, fear, anger, but mostly a deep-rooted longing to prove they were doing something meaningful. The warmth of hope flickered inside her, and suddenly she found her voice. We're trying to help this community, she said with surprising clarity. We're starting a food drive, collecting supplies for families in need. That includes Mia's family. Tommy's expression hardened, but there was no mockery just yet. And you think a couple of cans will solve the problems around here? Emma took a deep breath, locking eyes with him. We're starting somewhere. Your brother, she hesitated, but pushed on. He doesn't see beyond his nose. But you. You could help. You could actually be part of something bigger, something good. The change in Tommy's demeanor was subtle but noticeable. He shifted his weight, and for a brief moment, Emma felt she had struck a chord. The darkness around his reputation felt less suffocating, almost dissipating with her words. What would you know about anything? He retorted, but there was a hint of vulnerability in his voice that Emma desperately wanted to seize. I know that it takes one person to take the first step, she replied earnestly. And right now, that's what we're doing. We're stepping up for our neighbors. For kids like Mia. She motioned to the girl beside her, who stood quietly yet defiantly, clutching her sign. The surprise on Tommy's face was fleeting, almost imperceptible. "You think it's that simple?" he asked, and Emma could sense his walls beginning to crack, just enough to let some light through. "Why should it be complicated?" Claire chimed in, inspired by Emma's bravery. "Isn't it easier to care than to keep tearing everyone down?" Tommy shifted again, glancing toward the exit as if considering every option before him. Moments passed, and the atmosphere thickened once more as shadows of doubt crept back. "I mean, what do I care about food drives?" he said, his bravado returning. "You think I'm gonna waste my time helping losers?" "Maybe," Emma countered boldly, "just maybe, you're more than whatever you think you are now." The words hung in the air, a challenge, a possibility. "You don't get it," Tommy muttered, but Emma noticed his fingers twitch slightly, the facade faltering as the truth hit home. "Maybe I do," she pressed. "I see that you're a part of this community too. Don't you want something better for it? For everyone?" He hesitated, his emotions flickering across his face like a flickering candle. And as the silence stretched, her heart pounded with hope. But that hope felt diminished when Kyle burst back into the room, flanked by a couple of friends. "What is going on?" he barked as if sensing the vulnerability in the air, killing any budding connection between Tommy and Emma. "Nothing," Tommy shot back, the shield snapping back into place. "Just talking about how to fix this place with some food," Emma tried to interject, but already felt the weight of their disapproval smother the spark they ignited. Kyle let out a cynical laugh. "You still think that'll help? You'd think they'd learn." "Stop!" Tommy barked, surprising everyone including himself. "Maybe instead of laughing, we should see what they're working on. We might as well see if they really can pull it off." "Let them try," he added. "What?" one of Kyle's friends scoffed. "You're siding with the losers?" For a moment, Tommy's resilience looked ready to crumble under peer pressure. He looked around, caught between the facade of coolness that had been draped over him and the genuine struggle of Emma's cause. Emma could feel the heat of the moment. This was a definitive crossroads for Tommy. Could he push through to become more than the version of himself that was expected? "Yeah, I'm siding with them," he said finally, voice steadying with purpose. "Let them have their shot." The room fell silent, surprised and a little stunned. Emma's heart soared while Mia looked at Tommy wide-eyed, hope sparkling in her gaze. "Maybe it's just a food drive," Tommy continued, softer now, "but if it gives people something, anything, then we should help." Emma took a breath, emboldened by his words. It all starts somewhere. Even if it may feel small, who knows if it can grow. The quiet might linger, but that flicker of transformation had ignited. "Then let us see what your group can do," Kyle finally muttered grudgingly. A round of tentative applause rippled through the room as a new possibility birthed itself from the darkness. The tension broke, and Emma felt like they'd taken a pivotal step backwards, while simultaneously leaping forward into the light together. As the evening sun dipped below the horizon, illuminating the path of change, Emma knew they were just at the beginning. It wouldn't be easy, but they had a chance now, a tangible chance to foster connection, heal old wounds, and build a community from the ashes of doubt. With renewed determination, she looked at Mia, now radiating excitement, then at Tommy, a kindred spirit lighting the way. Together, they stood ready to embrace whatever came next, united by purpose, hope, and a shared commitment to uplift those around them. And as Emma glanced back at the old mansion, she felt the whispers of possibility wrap around her like a warm embrace, promising that they were all capable of so much more. In that exchange, Emma found her voice, and more importantly, she felt the transformative power of community take root in their hearts. "Here's to beginning something truly great," she declared, and the gathering cheered, the sound stirring the very foundation of their bond, solidifying it deeper than mere words. And just like that, the journey into hope and love had started in earnest. You need to subscribe now. Don't wait not even one more second to join us on this incredible journey. Your support means everything, so leave a like now to feed the algorithm and spread the word. Comment below to share your feelings about this amazing transformation. And share instantly with at least 5 friends who need to witness this incredible story unfold. This is the moment that counts. Be a true fan and help us grow.